tonight.
Stop targeting Saskatchewan, stop punishing Saskatchewan, stop bullying Saskatchewan.
The province and the feds come to an agreement over the latest carbon tax spat.
This guy.
2 men are sentenced after beating a man on a farmyard nearly 2 years ago. And how you can stay safe on Saskatchewan's waterways as the weather heats up again.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, July 16th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thanks for joining us tonight. The province's fight with the federal government over the carbon tax has taken another turn. But this time, after a war of words back and forth, there's been an agreement reached between the two sides. Alexander Kwan brings us the latest.
It's here for now. It's safe for now.
That's how Saskatchewan's Justice Minister is describing an agreement between the province and the federal government announced this morning. It will stop the Canada Revenue Agency from garnishing millions of dollars from the province. The CRA believes Saskatchewan owes the money for failing to collect and remit part of the carbon tax. Bronwyn Ayre portrayed Tuesday's agreement as stopping federal overreach.
In terms of the agreement we now have with the federal government, which is to stop the garnishment, stop targeting Saskatchewan, stop punishing Saskatchewan, stop bullying Saskatchewan.
But the details of the agreement indicate the province will sign a letter of credit, guaranteeing half of what the CRA believes is owed. That's $28 million as of the end of April, according to court documents. The Minister of National Revenue told CBC the agreement is in line with legal requirements under the carbon levy legislation, and the government remains committed to upholding this significant legislation that propels us toward a more sustainable future. One expert says this agreement streamlines the process.
I think strategically this makes a lot of sense for both parties. They can proceed directly to the question of whether the application of the carbon tax here is constitutional.
At the start of this year, Premier Scott Moe said Saskatchewan would no longer collect the carbon levy on natural gas used to heat homes. That was in response to a move by the federal government that exempted home heating oil from the tax. Moe has said Ottawa's decision was unfair and it undermined the constitutionality of the carbon tax. That's an argument the province will have to make to the tax court of Canada, although it's not clear when that could be. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
Meanwhile, Canada's premiers are sharing their frustrations about the federal government. The 13 provincial and territorial leaders are gathered in Halifax working on shared priorities, and they're telling Ottawa to stay off their turf. Catherine Cullen reports.
Dinner table, come on down.
It's all smiles around the premier's table, but ask about the federal government. The message is stay in your lane.
These core federal responsibilities, they go unaddressed. If your lane's in great shape, come on over and help us with ours. But that's just not the case in British Columbia.
The federal government has announced a raft of new programs that touch on provincial turf, from pharmacare to dental care and a national school lunch program.
To announce it one day with no collaboration is a symbol and signal of jurisdictional creep. And I think we need to respect the state of the federation.
You're paying for twice as many civil servants to deliver the program, which means you're not getting the dollars down to the people who need them.
So you're going to hold your hands in front. And this is the GQ them up a bit.
One other common challenge the premiers were talking about today: healthcare. Last year, the federal government committed nearly $200 billion more to the system over the next decade. But with millions of Canadians still seeking a family doctor, there is a lot more work to do.
If we are able to deliver a system of education for every child needing education, we should be aiming to have access to primary care for all Canadians.
Healthcare advocates who spoke to the premiers today do see room for optimism.
I'm hoping as they start to hear stories of what's possible and Canadians start to hear stories about what's possible, that all of the premiers will get inspired to say this is fixable and here's the plan.
Though here too, BC's premier has strong words for the federal government.
Wouldn't it be great if there was a national government to coordinate that discussion? Oh, there is one, but it's not happening.
And on the carbon tax, immigration, equalization, many premiers are also at odds with the federal government, with demands for more money and the potential for more court action on the horizon. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Halifax.
The province is leasing a mobile MRI unit from James Smith Cree Nation, and the Saskatchewan Health Authority hopes to have it operational at Regina General Hospital by the end of this month. It's being leased for $2.4 million in an effort to reduce MRI wait times in southern Saskatchewan. The Minister of Health says it's expected to increase MRI capacity in Regina by approximately 5,000 scans over the next 2 years. While MRI wait times across the province have decreased, demand in Regina, including referrals from the south of the province, have increased.
As of the end of March, we had about 10,000 patients in Saskatchewan waiting for MRIs. And the wait times are lower in Saskatoon and in Moose Jaw, where in those cities, 90% of patients receive their MRIs in about 100 days, give or take. In Regina, it's closer to 300 days.
As a father with two critically ill children, I also know that hospital wait times are crucial for not only for my own family, but for other people too, because having people within knowing that they need this imaging and they need these diagnoses for the doctors to do the proper diagnosis can alleviate some stress from the families.
There are currently 4 in-hospital MRI machines in Saskatoon. Regina only has 2. The board representing French schools in Saskatchewan is charging new rental fees to French daycares. There are 10 not-for-profit daycares in the province that rent spaces in schools operated by the Conseil des Écoles Francescois, or CEF. The new rent, effective September 1st, is $4 per square foot, but a coalition of the daycare centres says many Saskatchewan school boards provide space free of rent. Those that do pay rent, the coalition says, have minimal fees.
It's going to make things extremely complicated budget-wise. Some of our daycares have indicated that they could go bankrupt within the next 2 to 3 years, and that means less daycare spots across the province, and those are already very scarce.
The CEF says the new fee is to account for current budget needs, but Pedneau argues the province already provides funding to the school board for that. In a statement to CBC, the Ministry of Education says its latest budget for CEF included almost $4 million for things like full-time kindergarten and early years programming, but says it's up to the school board to determine how to use that money. 2 men have been sentenced for assaulting a man on a Saskatchewan farmyard nearly 2 years ago. But the charges against them likely would not have been laid had it not been for a video of the assault provided to police. That video was played in court Monday, and CBC has obtained a copy. Dane Patterson has more and a warning. The video contains footage of the assault and vulgar language.
In August 2022, Christopher Hawkins drove into a farmyard near Melfort, Saskatchewan. His family says he was an agronomist looking to help with the harvest. But Adam McLean and Peter McLean did not see it that way. The 2 men, who are related, pegged him as someone trying to steal from them. Adam pulled Hawkins from his car and assaulted him. Over the 16 minutes between Peter finding Hawkins and police arriving, Hawkins is punched, stomped, kicked, and berated.
Hands behind your back!
The video also shows Peter zip-tying Hawkins' hands until officers show up. Hawkins died in a Melfort hospital about a month after the incident, but a coroner's report showed he died from issues related to alcohol abuse, not the assault. Peter and Adam McLean were given a conditional sentence in a Melfort court on Monday. The 2 pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of assault causing bodily harm. Other charges they were facing, including forcible confinement, uttering threats, and assault with a weapon, were stayed. Now both men will spend 2 years, less a day, serving time in their community with strict conditions. No alcohol, cannabis, a curfew, and 200 hours of community service each. Hawkins' sister, Shanna Tanzoni, obtained that video of the assault and provided it to police. It spurred the investigation that led to charges against the 2 men.
There's always 3 sides to every story. The only difference was I had the truth in a video. And that was what I wanted the judge to see before he made his decision. I did not want them to be charged with something they didn't do.
After the judge read the McLean sentences, Tanzoni asked to speak and expressed her hope that the 2 will be better people in the future.
As angry internally as I am, in a way that was saying, I forgive the situation, I forgive the community, I forgive them in hopes that they will be different.
Dane Patterson, CBC News, Melfort.
Well, Saskatoon's 20th Street is no stranger to vandalism, but a recent string of incidents has some property owners expressing frustration and cleaning up. Aishwarya Duda brings us that story.
At least 3 businesses on 20th Street within a 2-block radius have been vandalized in the last few weeks. This art gallery's window was smashed July 5th. The window was added 2 years ago to display artists' work and has since been broken 3 times. The gallery's coordinator says repairs cost around $1,000 each time and result in 2 months of lost display time. But he expressed empathy for the people responsible.
I think the biggest change that we need to do in the neighborhood is be more welcoming to everyone in it. We need to support the people that have the least amount of support, because these things usually happen because somebody's frustrated.
He says there's been conversations about moving the gallery, but he's choosing to stay, to invest in the community and be accessible to everyone.
Everything we do is free. All of our programming, all of our exhibitions, they're free. And sometimes that means we're just a public washroom where everyone's welcome here. And that's really important to us.
A contractor renovating a store across the street says vandalism is a regular issue. He owns apartment buildings in the neighborhood, which he says have also been targeted.
They break in the 4 car, and I send the video to the police and their website, and I report that one in the police in the police station, and I didn't get any result. And one time they break my camera, I give the police station also, they didn't do anything. So far I understand, so the police is never take action.
Saskatoon police say there were 75 reports of mischief and graffiti in the first 6 months of 2024. There were 17 reports alone in just the last month. A window was also smashed at this Indigenous artisan gallery and gift shop recently.
I noticed it on a lot of other buildings up and down the street regularly, but this is the first time it's happened for us.
He says there's not a lot businesses can do, except stock up on lumber and nails. But he also acknowledges the struggles people face and says he tries to help by offering a smudge or water. Aishwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Well, that water looking pretty enticing given the sunnier and warmer weather we had today. This is what things look like in Kiwanis Park in Regina this morning. And a nice dip in the water will be a sweet relief these next few days as things really start warming up. In fact, Tyreek says there's already some heat warnings creeping back in. He'll have your full forecast when we come back. Welcome back. It was a tough weekend for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, being handed their first loss of the season on the road against the BC Lions. The Lions' win puts them 2 points up on the Riders for first spot in the CFL's West Division. It was more than a loss in the standings, though, as the Green and White's injury list grew. Offensive tackle Jamarcus Hardrick left early in the third quarter with an apparent leg injury. It was bad enough to require surgery, putting Hardrick, whose nickname is Yoshi or Yosh, on the shelf for a few months.
Not great. He's going to get some things worked on here, man. It's unfortunately going to be long-term for him. Again, same thing kind of with Phil. We're not going to rule out the end of the year, but it's going to be long-term. So it's unfortunate for him. It's unfortunate for everybody, obviously, but talking with Yosh, he's going to do his rehab and stuff here. So having that personality around is still huge for us as a team.
It is now rivalry week for the Roughriders as their prairie foes, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, pay their first visit to Mosaic Stadium this year. The Bombers are coming off back-to-back wins after starting the season 0-4. Kickoff is Friday at 7:30.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac, proud partner of the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
And weather specialist Tyreek Reed joining us now. And Ty, the weather has been fairly quiet so far this week, but I know that has not exactly been the case throughout the entirety of the month.
Exactly, yeah, Ethan. Earlier this month on July 1st, Canada Day, we were met with a lot of active weather in southern Saskatchewan. Environment Canada and our friends over at the Northern Tornadoes Project now confirming that we did see a few tornadoes in the south. We saw that in Crescent Lake, Bredenbury, and Gull Lake. They were given an EF0 rating, which means that there wasn't a lot of damage caused by these tornadoes, thankfully. But yeah, so that did happen. We're not seeing any tornadoes today, but we are seeing some extreme heat warnings that were issued by Environment Canada. We only saw a few of these earlier today, but now that's quickly beginning to spread through most of western Saskatchewan and even up in the north. Of course, this is because of this ridge that is forming over most of the prairies. And as we head further into the week, we're going to continue to see that spread throughout most of Saskatchewan. So right now it's only in the west and in the north, but we could see these heat warnings expand to other parts of the province beginning tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week. Now, let's take a look at these temperatures, seeing temperatures in the high 20s for our friends in Stony Rapids, where we are seeing these heat warnings. And as we head down into south and central Saskatchewan, over to the west, we are also seeing temperatures in the high 20s. We aren't feeling that extreme heat in Regina right now. We're seeing more seasonal conditions east, but of course, when we factor in that humidex, we are feeling like we're in the 30s, mainly in the west and here in southern Saskatchewan, like Regina, we're seeing that in the upper 20s. So of course, that is going to start to spread, and we are seeing some active weather to the northwest. That's bringing some thunderstorms, and as we head further into tonight, we're going to see that travel to the southeast, and heading into tomorrow, most of that active weather will mainly be to the north. And as we head into Thursday, that's when we'll start to see a lot of that come back into southern Saskatchewan. So we're in the clear right now for thunderstorms, but that's going to change very, very quickly. Now let's take a look at our 7-day forecast, seeing temperatures in the 30s starting on Thursday, and that's going to continue throughout the week and heading into next week as well. And of course, with that humidex, it's going to feel closer to 40 on some days. So we're going to try our best to stay very cool, stay hydrated, and stay underneath that AC here in Regina. It's going to be very, very hot, not just here in Regina, but throughout most of the province, of course. Over in Saskatoon, also seeing temperatures in the 30s beginning on Thursday, feeling closer to 40 with that humidex. Tomorrow, we're seeing temperatures in the upper 20s in Saskatoon, but it's still going to feel very, very hot because of that humidex. It's going to feel closer to the low 30s. Ethan?
Yeah, okay, so for those who are asking for that warmer weather, it looks like it's coming in full force.
Exactly.
All right, thanks, Tyreek.
No problem.
Stay with us. We have more news after the break. Well, there's a good chance you'll be seeking relief from this week's hot temperatures on our province's lakes and rivers. But a pair of recent drownings in the province has highlighted the issue of water safety. We caught up with one expert for some tips on how to stay safe.
This river is our recreational lifeline, I think. There's so many different opportunities for recreation around it, whether it be biking or paddling, just hiking, picnics, anything like that. So this river gives me a multiple, sources of recreation every day. People who aren't familiar with the river, I think should be encouraged to come and enjoy it, especially on our shorelines. There's many access points to the river. Right now the flow rate is low, but what they should know is that that can change at any time. So before I came out, I actually checked the pressure of my paddleboard, so making sure that it's at the 15 PSI that it's supposed to be, so I have a good paddle. And then I made sure I had all my components, like my leash. With paddleboards, you should be connected to your paddleboard that way, and my paddle, obviously. And then I'm making a choice on a life jacket. So there's the belt style life jacket that I'm wearing right now, that I attach my throw bag and my knife to. But there's also the alternative of the vest style PFD. And I would take that on a more weather concerning day, more wind, more waves. I would want to have that PFD on. I feel comfortable. Like, I feel like right now I'm going to enjoy my day. It's going to be awesome. I can change my day and stay out longer if I want, or come back again. I also feel a sense of like self-responsibility. I think there's the ability to enjoy a small or micro adventure in our backyard of our city means that we're also self-sufficient and prepared and comfortable so that we can enjoy our time or even stay out longer or handle things when things change, like the weather or any kind of event that might happen when you're outdoors.
Well, that water looking gorgeous in Saskatoon, and I know, Ty, for water lovers, tomorrow probably going to be another nice day to get out.
Exactly, Ethan. For tonight, though, we are going to be met with more seasonal temperatures, and then, of course, heading into tomorrow, that's when those temperatures are going to start to climb. We're going to be met with temperatures around 18 degrees to start off the day, but then heading into tomorrow afternoon, we'll see those daytime highs in the upper 20s, feeling like the low 30s because of that humidex. So we're definitely going to want to get outside into that water here in Regina and of course in Saskatoon as well. Seeing temperatures in the upper teens tonight, so definitely feeling that warm air up in Saskatoon heading into tomorrow morning. Cooler temperatures to start off the day, but then of course as we head into tomorrow afternoon, that's when we'll creep back up into the high 20s, feeling like low 30s because of the humidex. Ethan?
Okay, tempting to swim in Wascana Lake, but I think I'll avoid it for now.
Exactly, Ethan.
Okay, thanks, Ty.
No problem.
And before we leave you, a special day for two young boys in Regina. They've both gone through treatment for childhood cancer, but today at RCMP Depot Division, their illnesses were the last thing on their minds. They both got the chance to serve as commanding officers for the day, and they played a big part in the Sergeant Major's parade.
We started back at 8 in Edmonton. They got to ride in the SWAT car. We got piped onto the airplane. We just flew on an airplane. They just got put into red serge uniforms, like fitted just for them.
So my mom tricked me and said we were just volunteering. But when we went in the plane, I started getting suspicious. So then I found out.
I was surprised at first, and it's actually really cool. That's what I'm gonna say. It's really cool.
They just witnessed a massive parade where they were just became the commanding officer for the day. So now for the rest of the day, they're the boss.
I just told them to look for anything out of place, anything that didn't look like everybody else. They didn't point out anything in the parade, but they did ask some questions and they did have some positive comments for the cadets, telling them that they looked cool.
I saw a lot of smiles and I guess outfits. It's been really fun. We've been in SWAT vehicles. We've been holding guns. It's been really awesome.
Everything was just fun.
The reason we do dream experiences is just for the fact that they do miss out on a lot just because of the amount of doctor's appointments, the amount of times they have to get chemo.
It was a lot of work by a lot of people to bring this all together on both sides, both at Depot and in Alberta, but at the same time to see the looks on their face and just to hear the excitement in their voices, because as has been said before, they've had so many bad days. It's nice to be able to give them a good day.
And well done to both of them. That is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to our website, subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.